Hey everyone, so today I want to share with you guys the book picks that we had for our clothes unit. I do have it in 4 different piles. One of them is like a really cute, silly pile that kind of just talks about clothes and animals or things that shouldn't be wearing clothes. One is faith-based, the other is like dress up kind of vibes, and then this one is more of a, it just talks about clothes, but I don't really know what kind of pile to call it, so let's get into it. I do want to start off with these 3 books. So these are more on like the faith-based side. This one is really cute. It's our first time getting it. It's called Hats of Faith. It pretty much just goes over all the different hats that people wear in different cultures. It has a sentence that kind of describes everything. It has also the pronunciation on how to say the different styles that everything is being used in. So this is like a really cute book that kind of introduces all the different hats of faith. This is another book that I really enjoy. It's our 2nd year getting it, and it's a great read. It pretty much just follows the storyline of a family and a little girl, and kind of how she talks about all the different women in her family, and it kind of shares what they do outside of the home as well as what they do inside the home. I really enjoyed it, and my kids enjoy it, which is why I bring it back every time we go through like a clothing unit. This is another great one. This is pretty much following the story of a little girl who wants some red shoes that she sees at the store. She gets them, she wears them any chance she can, and eventually they don't end up fitting. So she has to go ahead and kind of like return it. And then someone else ends up finding out that they have a little girl that they want to give those shoes to. So it ends up traveling all the way across the world to another little girl, and she ends up getting them. And at the end of the book, the little girl ends up wondering kind of like where her red shoes ended up. And little does she know, like, they ended up with someone else. So this is a really cute, great read as well. Now this is a pile of like the dress up kind of vibes. This one, I feel like I would bring it back as well for like a community helpers unit, just because pretty much following the clothes that are being hung up on a clothesline. It's kind of describing who they belong to, this and that, and then you end up seeing who ends up wearing it. And it's like that throughout the entire book. It kind of says like, oh, this shirt, this pants, this case, I wonder who it can belong to, and it ends up being to a certain person. So this one's a great one if you want to kind of talk about clothes and all the different clothes that different community helpers wear. But I would also probably bring it back for that unit just because it's a cute little book. It's our first time getting it, and I was really impressed with it, so we really like it. Here's a really cute one. It's called Dress Up Day. This one is pretty much the story of a little girl who has to kind of like dress up for a party. She ends up getting sick, so she doesn't end up going to the party, but like the very next day she ends up still dressing up, going to school, but she's the only one wearing her costume, and she's kind of like getting laughed at for it. But little does she know that there was like another little boy that was sick too, and he came dressed up in his clothes. So that kind of made her feel really better. They had fun, and then everyone wanted to join in. And at the end of the book, you see them coming to school the next day, and then the very next day everybody is dressed up, which kind of made her feel good in the end. So this one's a great one. It's our 2nd time getting it as well, and we really liked it. Here we have Fancy Nancy. This one I feel like it was geared more towards my daughter. When we read it with my son, he wasn't a fan of it, but my daughter definitely is. It's another great find about a little girly girl who just loves to dress up. She's super fancy, wants her family to be fancy, and it's just following how a day goes with the dinner and everything. But this one's a great read as well. It was definitely more for my little one though, my daughter, but this is our 2nd time getting it, and it was a cute little read. Now this is a stack of super silly clothes books that I would definitely recommend. I would recommend all of these actually. Like, there's not one book that we didn't get that we didn't like, especially because it's like my 2nd round doing this clothing unit with my 2nd child, so I already know which books I like and which books we didn't. This one is a cute little story about just pajamas and all the different vegetables. They kind of tell you different ways you can wear your pajamas, what they're for, and all that good stuff. And it would be like a really good like bedtime story. Naked Mole Rat Gets Dressed. This one, my kids really enjoyed it. It's one of a little mole rat that pretty much is the only one that wears clothes. Everyone looks at him funny. They try to figure out what's wrong with him. They have a whole meeting with, like, I believe the leader, And then he ends up asking him like, well, why can't I wear clothes, you know? And it kind of gets him thinking. So he calls a meeting, and then next thing you know, at this meeting, he ends up wearing clothes and declaring that everyone's going to start wearing clothes. So the little mole rat went back and grabbed his clothes, and when he came back, everyone was wearing clothes. So it's like a really cute little story to follow. Here's another one about vegetables. The other one was vegetables in pajamas, and this one is vegetables in underwear. It kind of talks about all the different underwear that your little ones can be wearing. Kind of like the briefs for boys, for girls, everything, big, small. And at the end, I believe it says like, oh, even babies wear the underwear, and then they catch themselves. They're like, what? Babies don't wear underwear. They wear diapers, you know? So it's a great little funny read. Just kind of introducing kids to underwear, you know. This one's a good one. One's about pajamas, one's about underwear. This one is a classic. It's part of our curriculum. Some of these are part of the curriculum that we're using with our toddler. Others I just grabbed because we will read like 1,000 books a day if I let them. But pretty much this is going to talk about all the different animals and kind of like the clothes that they would wear and why they shouldn't wear them, you know. So it talks about a lot of different little animals, and I like the illustrations. It's like old school illustrations. Pretty simple, big words, easy colors to follow, everything. So this one's another great one if you guys are looking for like a silly read. And then the Runaway Shirt. I know a lot of you guys have seen this one and read this one as well. Pretty much a mom is doing laundry, and her little one is pretending to be a shirt. So as she's like folding the shirt, she's kind of like being silly with it, like, oh, you fold it this way, fold it that way, pretending like she doesn't know that he's the shirt, you know. And we're just following the little giggles and everything. And towards the end, she's just kind of figuring out, should I put you in the drawer, should I hang you up, this and that, you know. And it's just a fun, silly read. And then this one is about a little boy trying to get ready for his day, but instead of putting clothes on himself, he ends up putting the clothes on his doggy. So we're following that story, which is kind of silly. My kids were like cracking up because we have a dog, and we're like, should we put clothes on the dog? And they're like, no. But this one's just a great one. His mom's telling him like, okay, hurry up, we gotta go, you gotta put on your clothes. And everything that he's saying, if he says socks, shirt, pants, he's putting it on the doggy. So that's where this book is heading. But then towards the very end, he does end up putting his little clothes, and then he does end up going about his day. But it's just silly how his dog was wearing the exact outfit that he was going to wear for the day. Another great one is How to Dress Your Dragon. This one is also silly as well. Pretty much we're trying to figure out how to dress the dragon. Talks about like the underwear, kind of how you should put it on and everything, and the clothes, the socks, just all the different things, you know. And eventually the cape is a good one that they end up liking. But it's just another great, fun, silly read, especially if your little ones are into like dragons and stuff like that. And I like towards the end how the little boy ends up being the dragon, and the dragon ends up dressing up as a knight. This one will have my kids cracking up, and they make me read it to them over and over and over again. So it's pretty much about a little boy that is just naked, just running around, saying he's naked, eating naked, this and that naked, just doing everything you can naked, you know, dancing, everything. And then towards the end, he ends up getting cold. So he finally ends up putting like his clothes on and everything, but it has to be like his idea, you know. But that's his little story, just a cute, funny little read, and then you just follow him until he ends up going to sleep. But my kids crack up and they're like, naked! Now this is the last pile. I don't really know what I would call it, what I would label it as, but this one is a great selection of books as well. This one is a cute little board book. It's in English and in Spanish, super simple, so you can easily just, you know, skirt, la falda, just go through it. It's just pictures and the word, and I feel like it's super simple, especially if your kids are like trying to learn English and Spanish. Or you can just pick this up just because it's like a really great toddler book, just to have them flip through it and everything. This one does teach you a little bit of sign language, and it does follow like the names of the clothes. It does kind of do it in like a rhyming, storytelling type of way, so there's like a lot of words, but then right there it has like the pictures of how you can like sign it, you know. So this one's another great one. We get this one each time we do a clothing unit, just because I like the illustrations. We're not experts at sign language yet, but it's just great being able to see it. Caps for Sale. This one's just a classic, pretty much following the story of a guy that sells caps. It's really lengthy. It's super lengthy. But it's old school illustrations. Pretty much he sells caps, he wears them on his head, he walks around town, he falls asleep under a tree, but when he wakes up, everything is gone. Pretty much what happened was that the little monkeys ended up stealing all of his hats while he was sleeping, so when he looks up at the tree, he's able to kind of see where they're at, and then eventually they end up throwing them like on the ground, and he ends up picking them all up, counting them, and then he resumes his day trying to sell the caps that he has. So this one's a great one. It's part of our curriculum, and it's the second time getting it, but it's super lengthy. Now this one is a cute one. We picked it up just because it caught my attention. Pretty much this is just something that I use with my kids just to kind of talk about like how to get like ready for stuff, but it does have like a little clothing area, a little clothing section to kind of show you like how to put on your socks and your shoes, you know, how to put on your coat. It kind of gives you like a step-by-step on how to do certain stuff. But besides clothing, it kind of just talks about stuff that you can do like by yourself, or like children that need to be like independent or are trying to be independent. This one's a great one to have on hand as well, and it just fits into our clothing unit because it has like a few pages that talks about it. So this one is pretty much talking about Pete the cat and his school shoes. So Pete the cat is just like a classic for us. We love all their books. So this one, he is going to go about his day, you know, with his school shoes, doing his thing, everything that he needs to do. And then he ends up telling you and kind of like singing his songs like, oh, I have my school shoes in the library, I have my school shoes in the cafeteria, you know. He just goes about his day and he sings his song, and it's kind of like the same rhythm as all the other books, but it's just focusing on his school shoes. Pete the cat and his 4 groovy buttons. Pretty much you're following his journey of his day and how he loses a button throughout the day, and each time he loses a button, he acknowledges it, he sings a song, and you're kind of like counting down. So it does incorporate like a little bit of math. I would add this if we did like a math unit as well, just to have it there. But pretty much you're going all the way down until you get to like number 0. So he has 0 buttons left, but guess what? He still has his belly button. So he ends up singing his song and talking about his belly button and just, you know, going about his day, being positive about it. But this is another great one just to kind of add to the mix. So these are all the books that we got for our 2.5-year-old toddler. She is pretty much able to go through all of these within like a 2-week time span. We read anywhere from like 2 to 5 books a day, just depending on how she's feeling, how I'm feeling too. I'm like, you're cut off after 5. But I would definitely recommend all of these. All of these are great, especially if you're trying to either like talk about clothes, be silly, do dress up, lots of stuff like that. You can do lots of activities from just these books, which is super fun. You can look online, see what other people have done, but these are our book picks, and this is everything we read. So definitely let me know if you read any of these or which ones you would recommend for another book series. All right, thank you.